I just found a story that gave me chills. And at the same time, that dark, guilty satisfaction you can't explain. It's about a woman who gets betrayed by the two people she trusted the most, her husband and her best friend. But what she does after? It's quiet, it's calculated, and honestly, it's terrifyingly satisfying. So don't skip this one, because by the end, you'll have to choose, was she right, or did she go too far?
I ended up on that operating table not because I needed to be there, but because at some point I started believing there was something wrong with me. After the pregnancy, my body changed, naturally, like it does for any woman, but for him that was enough. He started bringing it up more and more. At first, it sounded like harmless jokes, then like concern, and eventually like careful but persistent conversations about how I could fix things a little. He said he just wanted me to feel confident again, that it wasn't for him, but for me, that it was a simple procedure, safe, quick, almost nothing. And I listened. Because I trusted him. Because I loved him. Because at some point I started seeing myself through his eyes. I thought that if I agreed, if I became better, like he said, then everything between us would go back to the way it used to be. Calm, warm, safe. On the day of the surgery, he was right there with me, holding my hand, telling me everything would be okay, that he wasn't going anywhere, that he loved me. And in that moment, I didn't have a single doubt. I truly believed I could rely on him. But everything changed that very day, because while I was lying on that operating table, while the doctors were doing the very thing he had been convincing me to do for so long, he wasn't alone. He was with her, my best friend. And it wasn't just betrayal. The worst part was that I ended up in that situation because of him. Because of his words, his pressure, his quiet insistence that something about me needed to be fixed. Back then, I didn't fully understand what I had lost, but something inside me broke for good in that moment. And that's when I decided they were going to pay for it. To be honest, I used to think of myself as a happy person, not in some perfect, glossy way, but in a simple, quiet sense. When you wake up next to someone you trust and don't expect anything to go wrong. With him, that's exactly how it felt. I trusted him completely, not because he demanded it, but because he knew how to create that feeling of safety. He always knew what to say, how to support me, how to make everything feel calm when I was around him. And over time, that calm turned into certainty. No matter what happened, he would be on my side. And maybe that's exactly why I started believing him so easily when he said that there was something about me that needed fixing. Someone you trust says it softly, almost like they care. You don't hear it as criticism. You hear it as truth. And then there was her. We had been friends for years. She knew everything about me, not just the good parts, but my weaknesses, my fears, my doubts. I told her things I sometimes didn't even tell him, and she was always there, supporting me, listening, agreeing, sometimes even defending me in arguments. I called her my best friend, but if I'm honest, she was more than that to me. Almost like family, the kind of person you could trust with your home, your child, your whole life, and not doubt it for a second. And the worst part of all this is that I trusted both of them the same. It never even crossed my mind to check, to doubt, to look for hidden meanings in their words or actions. I didn't read messages, didn't ask unnecessary questions, didn't watch their glances, because I was sure there was no place for lies between us. Now I understand how blind that certainty was. But back then, I couldn't even imagine that these two people would one day become strangers to me, that they would be capable of something I believed they could never do. When I came home from the hospital, I thought I was supposed to feel relief, like no matter what, this was still my space, my home, the place where I was wanted. But instead, I was hit with this strange feeling, like I had walked into the wrong place. Everything was too neat, too polished, like someone had carefully staged a perfect picture without really knowing what it used to look like. There were dishes in the kitchen I had never owned. In the bathroom, unfamiliar bottles, expensive, lined up neatly like on display. Even the air felt, not alive, but artificial. I tried to convince myself it was just exhaustion, that I was overthinking, that my mind was playing tricks on me after the surgery. But then I heard voices. They were coming from the bedroom. At first quiet, almost indistinct, but there was something in them you can't mistake. Intimacy. That tone that only exists between people who share something. Private. I stopped in the hallway. And then something happened that probably broke me more than anything else. I heard my name. She said it with a hint of mockery, almost lazily, like she was talking about someone who wasn't even there. And then she started laughing. Laughing at me. At my body. At the way I look after pregnancy. At the fact that I had to go under the knife, just to get back into shape. And the worst part wasn't even what she was saying. It was that he was laughing with her. No hesitation. No pause. Not even the slightest attempt to stop her. I stood just a few steps from the door, listening to the man I agreed to have surgery for calmly talk about me, like I wasn't his wife, but some failed project that needed to be fixed. At some point she asked him, almost playfully, in that tone that makes everything inside you tighten, "Be honest. I'm better, right?" And he answered, calmly, confidently, without even thinking. He said that with her he finally feels normal. That with her it's easy. That with her it feels good. And that she's perfect. In that moment my legs almost gave out, not from the surgery, but from the realization. Because suddenly I understood very clearly. Everything I went through, all that pain, fear, none of it was about me. It was about trying to become enough for someone who had already chosen someone else. I opened the door. They didn't even flinch. No panic, no shame. Just a brief pause. And then his look, filled with more irritation than guilt, like I was the one disturbing their peace, not them destroying my life. I stood there in front of them and couldn't say a word. Inside it was empty, hollow, like after an explosion. He was the first to speak, calm even like we were discussing something ordinary. He said it would be better this way, that everything had been leading to this for a long time, that I should accept it and not make a scene. And then he added something I think I'll remember for the rest of my life. She gives me more energy. And in that moment, everything fell into place. I was standing there, after the surgery he had convinced me to go through, trying to become good enough for him. And I realized that, in my own life, I no longer mattered. I wasn't a tragedy to them. Not a loss. Not even a problem. I was just unnecessary. After that day, time stopped moving the way it used to. It either dragged on unbearably slow or collapsed into nothing, leaving behind this emptiness where it was impossible to tell how much had passed. An hour, a day, or a week. I really was weak. Not metaphorically, physically. After the surgery, every movement took effort. My body ached, the stitches pulled. Sometimes I felt dizzy. Even getting out of bed was hard, let alone pulling myself together and moving on, like people always say. But the physical pain was the easiest part. What was happening inside me was so much harder. At first, it was shock. Dull, numbing. I could stare at one point for hours, replaying the same moments over and over. His voice, her laughter, the words I heard in the hallway. They got stuck in my head like a broken record, repeating again and again, giving me no rest, no way to escape. Then came the pain. Real, deep, almost physical pain. The kind that tightens your chest and makes it hard to breathe. I would wake up at night feeling like something inside me was tearing apart. I cried. A lot. Sometimes quietly, sometimes so hard I couldn't catch my breath. And in those moments, it felt like I would never be able to pull myself together again. Like I had been switched off from my own life and left somewhere on the side of the road. The scariest part wasn't even the betrayal. It was that I started believing them. At some point, I would look at myself in the mirror and think, maybe he's right. Maybe there really is something wrong with me. Maybe I'm not good enough, not beautiful enough, not enough at all. And that was the most dangerous place to be, because that's where a person starts destroying themselves. I almost stopped eating. Barely left the house. My phone stayed silent, and I was almost grateful for it, because I didn't have the strength to talk to anyone, to explain anything, to pretend like I was okay. My world shrank down to a single point, my pain. But strangely, that pain began to change over time. At first, it was barely noticeable. I just caught myself realizing that one day I hadn't cried. Then that I could think about what happened a little longer without falling apart. Then that I started asking myself questions. Not why did he do this, but what am I going to do about it? And that's when everything started to shift. Because along with the pain, something else appeared. Quiet, cold, very clear. I suddenly understood that I could either stay in this state, broken, humiliated, erased, or I could make sure this story ends differently. I stopped crying, not because it got easier, but because tears weren't changing anything anymore. And for the first time through all of this, I started thinking, not about how to get the past back, but about how to change the future. Maybe it was exactly in that moment, when I stopped crying, that I finally saw them for who they really were. Not the versions I used to believe in, but the truth. And with that came a very clear realization. Everyone has a weak spot. Even those who think they're always winning. Even those who believe they've walked away from everything untouched. I knew them too well to be wrong. His weakness was his arrogance. He was always convinced he was smarter than everyone else, that he could read people several moves ahead and come out clean no matter what. He loved control, loved the feeling of having everything in his hands, loved looking down on others. That's exactly why he allowed himself to betray me so easily. He was sure I was too broken, too drained, too humiliated to ever lift my head again. But I knew her even better. From the outside, she seemed flawless, composed, polished, calm, almost sterile in everything around her. She loved things to shine, to be perfectly in place, to look expensive and beautiful. To others, it might have looked like simple neatness, but I knew it was much more than that for her. Cleanliness was her obsession, her way of feeling superior, her personal religion. She could talk for hours about how hard it is to find truly high-quality things for a home, how every detail has to be perfect, how much she's irritated by people who have permanent mess in their heads and lives. She didn't just like order. She built her identity around it. Her home wasn't a place you live in. It was a display, a showcase of taste, status, control, her own little kingdom where everything had to obey her. And maybe someone else in my place would have thought about confrontation, exposure, loud arguments, public scenes. But the more I replayed everything in my head, the clearer it became. A scandal wouldn't give me what I needed. A scandal is emotion, noise, a few sharp minutes, an attempt to speak your pain that ends with you being labeled hysterical, while they calmly go on living their lives. I could picture it too well. He would look at me with that cold exhaustion. She would pretend to feel uncomfortable while secretly enjoying it. And in the end, I'd be the only one left with the pain. No, That wasn't enough for me. I didn't want them to just feel awkward. I didn't want public tears, cheap apologies, or performative regret. I didn't want a scene they could walk away from, close the door, and continue their lives as if I had only been an unpleasant episode. I wanted them to feel what they left me with: uncertainty, anxiety, loss of control. I wanted their perfect picture to start cracking. Not all at once, but slowly. First small details they could ignore, then signs that would start to disturb them. I wanted them to cling to their sense of order, to try to hold it together, to convince themselves everything could still be fixed, and then, at some point, realize it couldn't. That was when I truly understood where to strike. Not at their faces, not with words, not with loud exposure, but at the very place where they felt secure, where they felt beautiful, right, untouchable. Her perfect world, his sense of control, the new life they had so smugly started building on the ruins of mine. It was a strange feeling, very calm and very cold. No hysteria, no trembling, no tears. Like the chaos inside me had been switched off and replaced with clarity. I wasn't torn between pain and hope anymore. I wasn't asking questions about fairness. I was looking at everything like a problem that had a solution. I remembered every word she ever said about her home, about order, about how she despised anything imperfect. I remembered how he loved to brag about having everything planned, about calculating risks, about being impossible to catch off guard. And the more I thought about it, the more I realized how vulnerable they both were in exactly the things they were most proud of. They thought they had taken everything from me, but they didn't understand one thing. When a person has nothing left to lose, they start seeing other people's weaknesses with terrifying precision. And that's when the thought fully took shape inside me, the one I could no longer walk away from. I didn't want a scandal. I wanted destruction. When the plan finally took shape, it became crystal clear to me. Not to destroy them from the outside, but to set something in motion that would eat everything away from within. Slowly, quietly, and without any chance of stopping it quickly. And for that, I needed the right tools. I ordered several things that, in ordinary life, no one sees as a threat until it's too late. First, termites. Not random ones, but the kind that work in silence, gradually destroying wooden structures from the inside without revealing themselves right away. Their greatest strength is how invisible they are. Second, insect larvae that multiply quickly in warm, enclosed spaces. They don't just appear, they spread, taking over more and more territory. And third, invasive weeds with aggressive root systems. These plants don't just grow, they break through cracks, warp surfaces, damage foundations, and over time become almost impossible to get rid of. They didn't take my key. It never even crossed their minds. Probably because in their version of reality, I was already broken, erased, no longer a threat. That was their biggest mistake. I didn't break in. I didn't need to hide. I simply walked into a house I used to live in. And that gave me a huge advantage. I knew every detail, where the ventilation ran, where the technical gaps were, where no one ever looked. I knew the blind spots, not because they were hidden, but because no one thought about them. My goal was very precise: to start a process that would keep going on its own, without me, and that couldn't be stopped quickly. I placed the termites in the lower parts of the structure, in areas with access to wood, where damage stays invisible for a long time, where at first nothing shows, but eventually the very foundation starts to crumble. The larvae went into the ventilation and closed spaces, where air moves through the entire house, allowing them to spread beyond a single point. And I planted the weed seeds in damp places with access to soil. At the base of the house, in joints, in tiny cracks no one ever checks. I knew that at first they would be small sprouts, easy to miss, and later, a problem that could no longer be ignored. I didn't need to destroy everything at once. I needed everything to look perfect at first. I needed her to keep wiping surfaces, arranging things, taking pride in her home, without realizing the process had already begun. But the house wasn't the only part of my plan. He always believed he was smarter than everyone else, especially when it came to money. Cryptocurrency wasn't just an interest for him. It was how he hid part of his income, avoiding taxes while being convinced it couldn't be traced. He didn't hide everything completely. He was just sure I wouldn't understand. Sometimes he would ask me to help him figure things out, to check something, to make sure everything displayed correctly. And in those moments, I saw more than he thought. Wallet addresses, transactions, certain files with access details. Back then, I saved it, just in case. Not out of suspicion, more out of habit, wanting to keep things under control. I thought that if anything ever went wrong, I could help him fix it. But after everything that happened, those backups took on a completely different value and a completely different purpose. For a while, everything really did seem fine for them. But then the heat came, and with it, the consequences of my plan. What I had left inside their house started to grow and spread at exactly the pace I had counted on. Everything that could once be ignored began surfacing all at once. Everywhere. The house started to die. Mold crept along the walls, appeared in the corners, climbed higher, taking over more and more space. It was no longer something you could just wipe away. It kept coming back, stronger, deeper. The termites had done their job. The structure began to weaken, the wood crumbling from the inside, cracks appearing, strange noises. That unsettling feeling that the house itself was losing its strength. This wasn't something you could fix quickly anymore. The problem was inside. And the plants. They started breaking through where they were never supposed to exist. Through cracks, through joints, from beneath the foundation. At first it looked like something odd, then something concerning. And then it became obvious. Everything was slipping out of control. Her perfect world was falling apart. The more she tried to clean everything, to restore it back to how it was, the faster it all got worse. Cleanliness couldn't save it anymore. Control was gone. And with it, she was gone too. She couldn't handle it. At some point, it stopped being just a problem with the house. It became a matter of safety. Inspections, assessments, specialists. All of it confirmed the same thing. The house was infested, damaged, and unsafe to live in. It was officially shut down, declared uninhabitable. And in that moment, everything she had been so proud of simply stopped existing. And I just watched as their perfect life fell apart. When the house was finished, I moved on to the second part. I already had everything I needed. The information I once saved just in case. His wallets, transactions, the schemes he had been so confident in. I passed it all to the right place. And very quickly, he felt the consequences. First came the checks, then the blocks, and then real problems he could no longer ignore. The money became inaccessible. His usual solutions stopped working. And along with that, his confidence began to disappear. He figured out pretty quickly that this wasn't a coincidence, and that I was the only one who knew more than anyone else. At first he called. A lot. Insistently, then aggressively. He sent messages, at first demanding explanations, then turning into accusations. When I didn't respond, his anger only grew. And at some point, he showed up. I saw him through the door before I even opened it. He looked exactly how I imagined. Angry, worked up, completely out of control. A man who was used to controlling everything, suddenly helpless inside it. I opened the door, but I didn't step outside. He started talking immediately. Loud, sharp, almost losing it. He insulted me, demanded that I explain what was going on, that I stop this, as if he still believed he could pressure me. I let him finish. It sounded like the helpless tantrum of a child. And then I said just one thing. If he took one more step forward, he would be taken by the police right then, because I had already filed an emergency restraining order when I handed everything in. Of course, he hadn't even noticed the official notice that had been delivered to his house. He was too busy trying to patch back together his charming little life built on lies. He didn't go silent right away. At first, he didn't believe me, tried to say something else, but the confidence was already gone. And only when he realized I wasn't joking, that this wasn't emotion, not an attempt to scare him, he stopped. For the first time, he stood there on the doorstep and couldn't do anything. Couldn't come in. Couldn't pressure me. Couldn't take back control. And maybe that was the moment it finally hit him that it was over. And that this time I was the one setting the rules. I simply closed the door. After that, everything finally fell apart completely. She left him almost immediately, as soon as it became clear the house couldn't be saved. And his money was gone too. He was no longer part of that beautiful life. And with that, he stopped being useful to her. He was left alone, without a home that had been declared uninhabitable, without money he could no longer access, and without the confidence he had always relied on. And that's when he started calling me. He said he made a mistake, that he understood everything now, that I was the best thing he ever had. He asked me to give him another chance, to take him back, to help him get out of this situation. He said he couldn't handle it without me. I listened to him until the end. And then, calmly, I asked him why he ever thought he was good enough for me after everything he had done. Why he thought he could come back into my life as if nothing had happened. Why he believed I would agree to be with someone who had already shown me exactly what I was worth to him. I told him he didn't make a mistake now. He made it the moment he decided he could break me and walk away without consequences. And now he would have to live with it and answer for what he did. After that, I just hung up. And for the first time in a long time, I felt like it was truly over. I wasn't living in the past anymore. I was living for myself. Calm. Free. Without that constant feeling that I had to be enough for someone or prove anything. And that was the most important part of this whole story. They betrayed me when I was weak, but they forgot one thing. I am a woman, and when the angel inside me dies, something else is born in its place. Something you don't ever want to face.
Wow, I swear, every time I hear this story, I get chills all over again. That's how powerful it is. They thought they destroyed her, but they had no idea what they created. So tell me, was it justice, or did she go too far? Let me know your thoughts in the comments. I really want to hear your opinion. Follow for more stories like this. See ya!